just do the best we could. We actually did better than we did in past years. Not only did we get the money that we wanted, but we kept off 99% of their bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? In a situation where we lost 2 seats, but we managed to do better than we did last time. So there's a difference between what the public sees and what actually gets done.
So better than in what sense? I mean,
Last time they got on a lot far more anti-trans, anti-LGBT, anti-women, anti-all of these other things, right? This time they got on nothing.
Guys, here's your microphone.
For sure.
You know, share it. How is it about?
Copy that.
Okay.
Good afternoon to all of you. I cannot tell you how excited we are to have you here. My name is Kathy Collier. I'm the chairman of the Gillespie County Democratic Party. My deputy chair, Jerry Backla, will be moderating today's seminar. And I made him let me speak first because I want all of you to know just how hard Jerry has worked for this day. The town hall was his inspiration, and as our speakers today can testify, he was tenacious about bringing them together and bringing us some of the best and brightest that Texas has to offer. So please let me say thank you to him and help me to thank you.
I have this lapel mic on, so can everyone hear me?
Here. Use this.
This is probably best since you can't hear me.
It's on.
Now, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'll work on the lapel bit at some point. Welcome to the People's Town Hall. I think the most important thing
Good man.
I have to announce to you, for those of you that have made some sacrifices to be here today, Roy McElroy is hit by 2 strokes for the rest of the night. Through 6 holes, so we may update you as we go along here. Welcome to the Town Hall. It's being hosted by those of us here in Gillespie, but also by the folks in Kerr County, Kendall County, Blanco County, and Bear County. So you guys have kind of shown me already, but I want to go back through it. How many of you here are here from Bear County? Yell, folks, just yell. It's okay. Those from Waco?
Hey! Woo!
Put some voice to it if you want. Those of you that are here from Kerr County.
Yay!
And Kendall County. And then also from Gillespie County.
We know the home crowd. Yeah.
I also want to know if there's some folks from some of our other Texas 21 counties, like maybe
Comal County! Woo!
So we have individuals from Bandera.
Hey!
Real County. Real has about 3 people that live in the whole county.
Hayes County!
Hey, is next.
Woo!
Thank you so much. That is so cool. Do we have people from some of our outer counties who are not Texas 21, from Burnett County, Orlando, or
Harris County.
Harris County? Anyone here from Minnesota? We got folks from Minnesota.
Yay!
So we mark it far and wide here. So welcome.
Woo!
All right, yeah. Oh, and by the way, if you need a place to go this evening before you go home, I know of a citizen from Switzerland who has a wonderful venue out on called right, Berry Street. So if you'll need to talk to him, and if you want to raise your hand again, so people can know where you are, and he has a great recent full moon. So this is gonna be fun. This should be very interesting. The event has been put together because our elected officials in the Hill Country choose not to meet with their constituents in person. That includes not only Chip Roy, but Ellen Troxclair, Pete Flores, John Cornyn, Ted Cruz. All of them were invited. We did not hear from them. So we went to find some other folks that might be more interested in us and who we are more interested in. So we found some elected officials who want to hear from us, and here we are. I'd like for you to meet the organizers of the event. These county chairs have put in multiple hours to make sure we have this opportunity today. So you've already met Kathy Collier from Gillespie County. Lynette Wayne is from Kerr County, and we've got her handling the overflow room in the back. So, say hello to she's right here at the door, so say hello to her. Kendall County's county chair is Laura Gray. Blanco County is led by Maggie Goodman. Dare County is led by Michelle Lowe Solis. I've been involved in putting on events for about the last 15 years here in Gillespie County. I've never worked with such a group of people. So it's cool. They did a good job. Today's town hall is being videotaped and will be shared with the Hill Country County chairs to distribute throughout to their digital media sites. So Bruce McAllister, who's the guy in blue and is busy right now, so I'd like to welcome him and thank you for doing this. There was a person who ran for president a few years ago, and she said, it takes a village. So I'd like for you to know that it takes a village to create an event like this. And so thank you to all the volunteers from Gillespie and from Kerr and from Kendall and from Blanco and from Bayer who have worked really hard to make sure that this event goes off smoothly. So we'll see. So far, I think we're okay. So thank you to all of those folks as well. And also to the Gillespie Historical Society organization who is letting us use this venue. I think it's a wonderful place for us to be. So thank you for that. We also want to thank the Fredericksburg Police Department, who has provided for the Rocky Police Station to make sure all is good here. So thank you for this. There are an additional 9 or so counties who are members of the Hill Country Democratic Coalition who is hosting this event, and many of the leaders from those counties are here today as well. Several are in Congressional District 21, others have other representatives to Congress. So welcome to all of you as well. I don't know where you are, and I may not have seen all of you, so thank you so much if you're here. It's great to have you. So there's that. These people work for representation for Democrats in their respective counties. We have some other leaders here today in today's town hall as well who I'd like to recognize. Nancy Thompson, who's Mothers for Democracy. If you'll raise your hand or stand up and say hello. We appreciate it. Is Carl Jones here? He said he's going to be here, but he probably got lost on the country roads. He's with the Texas Rural Caucus, so Rural Urban Caucus. Rural Caucus, I think is the name of it actually. So say hello to him next time you see him and ask him where he was. So we'll go with that. Welcome to all of you. Is Kristen here? I haven't seen her. We also have one other very special guest who I'd like to give the microphone to say a few words to us. He's I don't know how to describe him. He's the chair of the Texas Democratic Party. So I've asked you to talk to us a little bit, and I'm asking you to keep his speech under an hour.
No promises. Jerry, ladies and gentlemen. I wish we had Jerry every time. Hi, how are you? Hey, if I were Chip Roy, I I wouldn't show up either. He's terrible. It's funny, I was elected chairman of the Texas Democratic Party 2 weeks ago today, and I have spent more time in Chip Roy's district than Chip Roy. Where is Chip? Why do you think that he chooses not to show up and answer to you? Because his donors and his owners tell him what to do in D.C., and he is terrified of you telling him what you want him to do. Because it's not the same. He does their bidding. He works for the billionaires that now run this country. And I am shocked that these billionaires, their greed knows absolutely no bounds. The richest man in the world is in the White House right now, gouging social safety net programs for people who need them, gutting the Department of Education that funds schools for special needs kids in this community right here. They're fighting every single day to take pennies out of your pocket and put it into theirs. You know what they're not cutting? Any money that goes to Elon Musk. Funny how that works, right?
$38 billion
$38 billion
a year
goes to Elon Musk every year. But they're focused on what helps you, people like us. A little bit of my background. I grew up in a little county called Bowie. I don't know if you know Texarkana. I'm from outside there. So, yeah, Bowie County in the house. Great. Strange. I grew up on a Purple Hole Wheat farm with lesbian mamas in East Texas, and that's how you know that I know how to fight. Okay? I'm standing here today as the chairman of the Texas Democratic Party at age 35 because a public school teacher grabbed me by my face one day and told me I was smart. And for some people that sounds stupid, but for a kid like me, in a town like mine, in a family like ours, it made the entire world. I waited tables and worked at the Dairy Queen to put myself through a poor boys college. Same used to stay out in Huntsville. Okay. Might as well have been harder for a kid like me. Folks like me have had to struggle every step of their life to get anywhere. Those are the types of people that government was set up to serve. Government's not a business. Government's here to provide you with services. Government is here to look out for the little guy. At least it's supposed to. Donald Trump has created a government that does not care about us, it cares about them. And when we wake up and realize that this fight is not a culture war, it's not about being angry about what your neighbor does or doesn't have, it's about making sure that we stand in solidarity with one another, the working class of this country, to ensure that this government serves us. That is why Chip Roy is terrified of you. You will never be able to write the campaign checks that it would take for Chip Roy to show up in this room, right? I've been doing these all across the state, where Republicans are just a bunch of chicken shits. They aren't showing up anymore. And it makes me so proud that you took time out of your day today as a patriotic American who says, I see all these things that are happening. I see them firing 80,000 employees from the Department of Veterans Affairs. I see them trying to completely eliminate the Department of Education, and I'm not going to take it. And I appreciate you for being here today. Remember whenever we talk about these jobs that are getting cut throughout the day today, that is not just a working person who lost their livelihood. That's a working person whose livelihood was to make your life better.
That's right.
Right? It's a two-pronged sword. And we have an obligation not only to fight to preserve those people and their right to be treated with basic human dignity, but we also have to fight for our neighbors who may not be federal employees, but who benefit from those services. Those services that you've seen are just the beginning. Make no mistake. They have started with Veterans Affairs, they have started with the Department of Education, but your Social Security is next. The Democratic Party is the party that passed the Great Society and reduced poverty by 75%. We ushered in the New Deal and brought electricity all across rural America. We're the party of big ideas and And I'm here to tell you today, as the new chairman of the Texas Democratic Party, we are the party that will henceforth be getting out of bed every single day, thinking about how do we make life easier for the working men and women of this country? How do we make sure that we're serving you and providing you with opportunities to succeed? Billionaires be damned. That's who we are. Thank you for being here. Thank you to these incredible representatives who I've had the opportunity across the state and go into. I think that places like Texas 21 would be incredibly well served if we could have some representatives who cared about their communities as much as these folks. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Thank you.
I've played with my microphone. Can you hear me now? A little bit better? I'm going to leave this microphone for a special guest, if I can. Kendall, I have a little advice for you. I think if you show a little more enthusiasm, it would be a good thing. So work on that a little bit, if you would. Now for some housekeeping rules. As we've already started, Chip Roy is here only as a one-dimensional candidate or representative. So there's not much he can add to our proceedings. So he has left. I think that he had a plane to catch with his old boss, Ted, to go to Cancun. So sorry he can't be with us any further, but we want the important focus to be on our folks who were willing to come here and visit us. So that's where we'll go from here. See you, Chip. Each of our special guests will present to us whatever they wish. Each will limit their remarks to a maximum of 10 to 15 minutes. If you hear the ding-dong,
It's a nice thing.
that means it's time to wrap up. More about the ding-dong a little bit later. After their presentations, we'll open the floor for questions. Our floor workers are Kathy from Gillespie County and Maddie from Blanco County. They'll be out in the crowd. If you have a question you want to ask, raise your hand and they'll come to you with the microphone. Please state your name and your county whenever you start your remarks or question. Our purpose here today is to present to and learn from our three guests. It is not to bash anyone, including our current elected non-representatives. Please be respectful with your questions and remarks. Please make your question or remark brief. The event is organized to feature our three guests, and though your several minutes long presentation is very important, please feel free to organize your own event. To highlight your extended thoughts and opinions. But today, let's keep the focus on our three guests. As was demonstrated, there is a bowl on the stage. As the moderator, I have the opportunity and solemn responsibility to ding-dong the questioners if they pontificate a bit too long. Which means, if you get dinged, wrap it up. So now I'd like to take this opportunity to tell you a little bit about myself. I was Hey, I got the message. That's how it works. There's one more introduction I'd like to make, and it is for our most important guest here today, the one who holds the highest title, respect, and responsibility in these United States of America. More so than any of the three representatives on this stage. Sorry, guys. Yeah. And it is most exciting to have that guest here today. That most important guest is you, the citizens. That means the citizens' representatives are who work for us. We don't work for them, they work for us. So remember that next time you get put down by somebody from that other party who doesn't seem to realize this. Now let's get to it. Our three panelists today are going to do just that. First off, we're going to have each of them speak to us for a little bit before we go into questions. So our first person is going to be Vicki Goodwin. She is a representative in the Texas House of Representatives for District 47 out of Austin. She is serving her third term. She serves on the Appropriations and the Insurance Committees. This session, she has filed bills to address public school funding and to provide cost of living increases for retired teachers. Just as a little side note, which doesn't really have anything to do with Vicki, probably, maybe, but probably not. I noticed that our current Lieutenant Governor just announced for re-election. I don't know if that means anything to you, Vicki, or not. But sort of keep that in mind, all right? You all keep that in mind as well. So I proudly present to you this loyal friend to the Texas Hill Country, Representative Vicki Goodwin.
Hi, friends. You know, just fun fact, Chip Roy's district actually comes into Travis County just a little bit. I think there's a few streets in my district that are represented by Chip Roy. So I ran for the first time in 2018 because of what happened in 2016. Y'all remember that election? It inspired a lot of people like myself to run for office, and I flipped my seat. That made a huge difference in the legislature, and I know a lot of y'all came here to hear about federal issues, but you know what's going on at the state is very similar. It's mirroring what's happening at the federal level. Every day I wake up and I think, how can I make this a better place for Texans? Meanwhile, there are some other people, I will not give names, who are more interested in the family plan, the friends and family plan. They wake up thinking, how can I do more for my friends and family? So we just recently passed the budget in the Texas House, and because we just passed that this week, we started Thursday, ended Friday. The House voted it out. There's still a process. It will still go to this thing that happens, conference committee, where they hash it out. So there's still going to be some changes, but every session I've been there has been different. And I'm not going to take you through the step by step because it did go for a long time, and y'all don't need to hear all the details. But suffice it to say that it has some good things in there, but there are some concerning things as well. And one of my Democratic colleagues tried to add an extension or an expansion of dollars for broadband for rural and underserved areas. Would that be helpful? Yes. And it would be helpful for Democrats and Republicans alike, but the Republicans voted it down because they had gotten their feelings hurt, because it was this little bit of strategy that happened early on in the night, where the very first amendment, very quickly, before anyone knew what was happening, some money was taken out of a fund, and later amendments that came up were trying to draw from that fund, and it was all gone. And so they were surprised, and a lot of their amendments just couldn't even be debated. But unfortunately, also my amendments couldn't really be debated, which is fine. You know, they weren't super important, and they were put into this Article 11, which they could be drawn back out during conference committee. One of mine was to create the Tariff Impact Relief Fund for small businesses and farmers, manufacturers, and small businesses that were impacted by the tariffs. We didn't get to debate it, unfortunately. Another one was to increase incentives and pay off school loans for OB-GYNs. Did y'all know that between 2022 and 2024, there's been a 40% decrease of OB-GYNs in Texas?
That's why nobody's having kids.
So, you know, we were trying to do some good things. Unfortunately, the Republicans had amendment after amendment after amendment. It got really tiresome about DEI and everything multicultural they had to get rid of. In fact, they were successful in taking out some of the pieces of the budget that talk about multicultural education, scholarships for underserved populations, things like that. And they tried to defund our universities. So it's not just that they're trying to defund K through 12, they're trying to also defund our universities. They took out this thing called institutional enhancement funding because of DEI. They tried to defund UT, Texas State, and even A&M.
The whole systems.
They are really trying to undermine our education system. And that's what got me to run for office in the first place, is my passion for public education, whether it's K through 12, university, or even pre-K. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit too about what are some of the issues that I'm working on this session. So my background's in real estate, and I know that housing costs have gotten really high in Texas. So I wanted to work on some housing affordability. I have one bill, that's the Fair Rent Incentive Act, and it would put downward pressure on rent prices. That got a hearing in committee already, but it's kind of languishing in committee. But meanwhile, we did pass out of the House a sales tax exemption on exotic game. That'll help a whole lot of people. And we also passed, which will go up for a vote, a constitutional amendment saying we will not tax stock trades in Texas because we now have a stock exchange in Texas.
Capital investments.
So anyway, you know, unfortunately, we're constantly trying to think about ways to help all Texans, but not always so successful. I'm also really working on water issues, and this is one of the issues that really has broad bipartisan support, right? So in the Senate, Senator Charles Perry from Lubbock is kind of the water expert. He's been working on the issue for many years. He's got a bill that will put more money into a water fund for a lot of new water projects. So think about brackish water desalinization and pipes that will take water from places where it's wetter to places where it's drier. So my bills, since I represent Lake Travis, which is our drinking water supply in Austin, I have a group called the Central Texas Water Coalition, and we've been working together for the last few years to try to work on legislation that is helpful to people in planning for our water future, but also water conservation, right? Because these new water projects, while they're necessary, they're very, very expensive. And guess who's going to end up paying for those? All of us. Water conservation, not so expensive, and so it just makes sense. So a couple of real simple bills. One is saying that an HOA cannot fine you if you have brown grass during a drought because you're not watering. Pretty simple. And another one saying that an HOA cannot stop you from putting in drought-tolerant landscaping. But not everything has to be done legislatively, so we worked with the Texas Facilities Commission before session, and we said, hey, you know, in Travis County, there are purple water pipes, which a lot of the the city and county office buildings use to water their landscaping to save water. We're not using drinking water on our grass. Instead, we're using gray water, reused water. Those pipes come up to the Capitol, but the Capitol's not tied in. So we got them to say, okay, yes, we are going to tie into the purple water pipes, which will save us 45 million gallons of water a year. And we also talked about, hey, we can reuse water within the buildings if we use HVAC condensation for our flushing the toilets in the buildings. And they said, yeah, you know, we're considering that in our new construction as well. It's very expensive to retrofit, but we'll do that going forward. So a lot of work going on around water, housing affordability, and then this session I'm on the insurance committee. So the idea of the committee is try to figure out how to lower the cost of house, auto, and health insurance. As a small business owner for many years prior to coming into the legislature, I understand how impactful it is when your health insurance goes up year over year over year. You know, we were constantly changing who our health insurance carrier was. Oftentimes when my kids were little, I'd take them to the doctor and I find out later that, oh, my husband with his company had changed health insurance providers yet again without telling me. Because it's just, the costs go up so much from year to year. But it has to be done in a very thoughtful manner, because we don't want to end up with junk policies that then you have a brain injury and find out later, oh, your insurance company has this policy that doesn't include rehabilitative care. And so those are very nuanced conversations that we have in committee, and these are the things that we work on that don't quite always make it to the community because they don't fit into a 3-word soundbite. But what I've been trying to do is make very short, 1-minute or less videos of things that are going on in the legislature. And so what I tell people is, in order to change what's happening in the state and what's happening in the federal level, it's going to take all of us. So you need to show up, you need to speak up, and you need to amplify our messages. And so I've been trying to do these short little videos so that they can be easily amplified, whether it is on social media, whether it is you watching it, learning something new, and telling your friends and neighbors and coworkers and family. But we've got to start breaking through what I call the Fox fog. Too many people watching Fox News and getting caught up in that. So please, show up like you're doing today. I invite you to come to the Capitol. If you ever need a place to come and figure out how do I make my voice heard at the Capitol, my office is always open. Tomorrow, in fact, there's a very, very important hearing going on. So one of the issues that I have worked extensively on is gun violence prevention. Last session, after the Robb Elementary tragedy, we had the Uvalde families come and advocate over and over and over for raise the age. Raise the age for buying assault-style weapons from 18 to 21. Yes, we need that. Tomorrow, they're trying to do just the opposite. They are trying to lower the age. They are trying to lower the age of being able to buy a handgun from 21 to 18.
Yeehaw.
They are trying to make it legal to have a sawed-off shotgun. They are trying to make it legal to carry a gun into sensitive places like schools and polling locations. So again, if you can come to the Capitol, and we need to show up in numbers and voice our concern and say you are going the wrong direction, we need our communities to be safer. And this is not how you do that. So show up. If you can't be there in person, there's a link that you can provide written testimony on specific bills. I urge you to do that, because the more written testimony we get, the better. I know sometimes it feels like that they're not listening. Make it so they can't ignore us. That's what we have to do. We have to make it so they can't ignore us because our voices are so loud. And one of the things that Kendall said earlier is that they're not having town halls. Well, they did. A couple of Republicans had a town hall in Palestine, Texas earlier. And even with their own Republican base, they were booed off the stage because of vouchers. So I will wrap up by talking about vouchers. The number one issue, according to the governor and lieutenant governor this session, they are so fixated on passing vouchers so that we can send our public dollars to private schools. They would like to privatize everything. Why? Well, follow the money. There's money to be made. So
That's right.
we simply don't have the numbers to defeat vouchers this time. But what we are working really, really hard to do is add an amendment to say, put it up to a vote. Because we know it would not pass if it was put up to a vote. I had a Republican woman, Holly Clemens, who came to the Capitol and testified against the voucher bill, come into my office just the other day asking me, how do we stop this from happening? I don't know if y'all follow Representative James Talarico. But he took a clip of all of the Republicans that came to that committee hearing, public education, and testified against vouchers. And just time after time after time, you hear these witnesses saying, I'm a Republican and I'm against vouchers. This is not a popular plan, even though the governor keeps lying and saying it is. So, things like this are not going to change in Texas or at the federal level until we have a change of leadership. And I'm not going to say that I'm planning to run statewide or anything like that, but just remember, we need a good win for Texas.
No, I think it is. That's what they're told me. I just work here, man.
I'm going to switch up the order here a little bit. Representative Joaquin Castro, the bearded twin,
Yeah.
is in his 7th term representing Texas District 20 in the U.S. House of Representatives, after serving 5 terms in the Texas House of Representatives. He currently serves on the House Foreign Affairs Committee and the Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. He was recognized by the Center of Effective Lawmaking as the most effective Democratic House member in the recent 186th He is now saving democracy in the 119th Congress. And by that, if you haven't seen the clip of his questioning of some officials that were trying to get confirmation, please listen to it. He's big friends with Tulsi Gabbard. He's pretty straight when he's talking to her. So remember that. It's exciting to give you the views, professionalism, and remarks of Congressman Joaquin Castro.
Good afternoon, everybody. How are y'all doing? Good to be with y'all here at Fredericksburg. Thank you so much for the great introduction and for all of your work in organizing this. And thank you to the Democratic Party chairs and my chair and Bear, Michelle, thank you. And Kendall and Kerr and Gillespie, all over. Also, thank you to Kendall Scudder for all of his work as a new party chair for Texas. Thank you so much. Just remember, y'all, because I often get asked, what is the Democratic Party doing? What are they doing? I don't see them. This is what the Democratic Party is doing in Texas, bringing us together to stand up and speak up and make sure that we win the elections in November of 2026. So thank you all so much for all your work. I came here today because I want to work with you all on something. I want to work with you on something that is extremely important for our country and its future. We need to work together to save America. That is what is at stake today. Let's step back for a second and consider where we were at the beginning of the year. January of this year. The United States for many years has been the most powerful, most prosperous nation on earth. And you all helped build that prosperity. You all helped build that strength. Our veterans who served, our armed forces, you all helped build that strength for us and our allies. I hope our veterans can stand for just a second so that we can recognize them in these troubling times. Our veterans, please. Thank you all for your service. And yet we see the incredible warning signs all around us. Consumer confidence is at the second lowest point that it's been in 52 years. Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing everything that they can to wreck our economy. Their new tariffs, which change by the day, have ruined our reputation around the world. The dollar is weakening because China and other countries are dumping it in the markets. This is a self-inflicted wound. This is not a natural disaster where all of us rally together, but we know at the end of the day that it's nobody's fault, only nature. This is a self-inflicted disaster and a self-inflicted wound. And it's going to take the work of all of us to change it. So I want to talk to you for a second about
where we are as a nation, or where we've been and how we got here, where we are today with Donald Trump and Elon Musk as president and head of Doge, and then what I've been doing to change things and to fight back, and also most importantly, I think part of the reason you're here, what I believe you can do to make sure that we change things. You know, you may get asked the question, you know, if you talk to friends or family members, especially folks who don't vote Democrat, particularly in more conservative counties, and I would, if you look at the numbers, I would put Gillespie County on that list, right? That obviously is more Republican and has been for many years than Democratic. People ask you, well, what do Democrats stand for? I'll tell you what we stand for. Over the years, all of us have worked hard to build up what I call the infrastructure of opportunity in this country. And it's something that the United States has done better than any other nation in the world. Think about it. Just as there's an infrastructure of roads and streets and highways that helps all of us get to where we want to go on the road, there is an infrastructure of opportunity in life that helps all of us get to where we want to go in life. So when you think about the things that we fight for as Democrats, great schools and universities, the GI Bill for our returning service members for World War II and Vietnam and the Gulf Wars and Afghanistan and Iraq. Pell Grants for our college students so that they can actually afford to go to college. And tuition assistance. When we fight for public education, we fight against Governor Abbott's voucher scam. When we fight to pay our public school teachers well so that they can afford to live and teach their students well. As Democrats, we stood up for those things. So great schools and universities, a strong healthcare system. That's what President Obama helped build with the Affordable Care Act not too long ago. I think Chip Roy may have cut off my mic here.
Oh, hold on, because it
All right,
back.
we'll use that one.
All right.
All right, y'all.
It's back.
So when we talk about the Affordable Care Act,
It's back.
all right. When we talk about universal health care, so that when somebody gets sick, they can actually go see the doctor. When they go to the hospital, they don't get bankrupted and have to lose their home, or lose their job, or lose their car. So great schools and universities, a strong healthcare system, an economy that's built around well-paid jobs, so that when people work hard, they can support themselves. All right. Maybe this works. All right. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear there?
That's somebody's recorder. That's somebody's recorder.
All right. Yeah, we'll switch mics. Thanks. So a strong economy that's built around well-paying jobs so that when people actually put in a hard day's work, they can support themselves and their family members. That's what we have worked for as Democrats over the years, building this infrastructure of opportunity. And what we're watching is Donald Trump and Elon Musk and others tear it down piece by piece. And we spent years not only building that infrastructure of opportunity, but making sure that it was available to everyone, no matter who you are or where you live, urban or rural, black or white, Hispanic, everyone. And what we have now is a president who is dismantling that. And so when he's doing things like threatening to cut Medicaid, they want to cut up to $880 billion of Medicaid, nutrition assistance, possibly Pell Grants, and other incredibly important, often life-saving programs from the people of Texas and the people of this country. And you know, we often think of Medicaid, or some folks think of Medicaid as serving only the poor, but that's not true. Yes, it serves low-income Texans and others, but it also serves the disabled. It serves many folks who, without Medicaid, would not be able to see the doctor. We're already in a state where the governor stubbornly refused to expand Medicaid. That was one of the worst public policy decisions in Texas in at least a half century. That decision by Governor Abbott and the Republican legislature literally cost people their lives in Texas. And we can never forget that, but we can help change it. And so I want to talk to you not just about Medicaid, but also about Social Security. Y'all probably saw that one of the things they did early on was Elon Musk said that he thought it was a good idea to cut telephone service to people that were calling into the Social Security Administration. So I have many seniors that we serve in our offices. People call us for help because they've been trying to get the Social Security Administration, they've been haggling over their cases. And these are folks oftentimes who can barely leave their homes, who struggle to leave their homes. And now you're saying that they've got to show up in person somewhere, and now they've got to go and they've got, a lot of them don't even have cars or can't drive anymore. So they have family members that have to take hours off from work to take them to show up as they're struggling to go there and basically argue with somebody about what's going on with their case. A basic thing like being able to call the Social Security Administration and get your case solved is something that they don't think is valuable for our seniors. Let me tell you, that is bad public policy, and I'm glad that they had to reverse it because of the voices in America that fought back. So thank you all so much for speaking out. And remember, whether it's cuts to Medicaid or Social Security or Pell Grants or education, laying off all these federal workers, many of whom are actually U.S. veterans. These are veterans that are being affected at the Postal Service, at the IRS, at the DOD, and many of these federal agencies. And why are they doing all this? Well, first of all, they're doing it very sloppily, very recklessly, very chaotically. That's right, I agree, illegally is right. Unconstitutionally. But they're doing it in a way that I would compare to somebody going into their closet. Every once in a while, you get the time to go in and clean your closet. Well, this is like somebody going into their closet and just not looking at anything and throwing everything out, right? And then you realize that it's 20 degrees outside and you threw your coat out. That's the kind of recklessness that we're seeing from President Trump and from Elon Musk of Doge. And then you ask yourself, well, why are they doing it? Is there some good reason? Is there some compelling reason that they can sell us about why this is good? Well, the answer is no there. They're doing it so that they can take that money that they don't have to spend on Medicaid, on the disabled, on Social Security telephone service, perhaps on Pell Grants. They're taking that money, they want to take that money, and they want to move it over and give it to the wealthiest billionaires in this country and the wealthiest corporations who just got a tax cut 6 years ago. They just got a tax cut 6 years ago, and they want to do it again. That's what's at stake here. And so we have been doing everything that we can to fight back. And let me describe to you, because I know people are asking, there is an incredible frustration and an anxiousness from folks. Like, what are you guys doing to stop this? Right? That's the question that comes to me. And let me separate out two parts. The first is the executive actions and executive orders, right? The executive orders that Donald Trump has issued. The way that we're fighting back, remember, those things are not going through Congress. They're not bills that he's trying to pass because he would never get them passed. Those bills would fail. Some of them in the House, but even if he got to the House, most of them would fail in the Senate. They wouldn't get the 60 votes they need to pass them. So they're trying to go around Congress with the executive orders. So what happens then? Most of the action in fighting those executive orders, in fact, all of the action, is mostly not in Congress, it's in the courts. So right away, we stood up a litigation support team in the Democratic caucus to support the litigation efforts, the attorneys who are going and fighting on what is now more than 170 lawsuits against the Trump administration to stop what they're doing. To stop what they're doing. And then the second part is, in fact, the legislative part, right? So this budget, the budget resolution that they just passed, and the final reconciliation budget that they will try to pass, that's where we have stood strong and voted no. And let me tell you on that one, the one that involves Medicaid, that could involve other programs like Pell Grants, that involves food assistance, cutting food assistance for needy folks, they have passed the first two votes on that bill. They will need at least two more votes, I think, maybe one if they really get their act together. but it's going to come in front of us one more time. And so far, we haven't seen the specific cuts yet. But we know because of the amount of money they're talking about cutting, that they're going to have to cut deep to the bone on these programs. They're denying it right now because there's no specific programs or numbers on the page. But just wait till you see the budget they release. Just wait till you see it. That's why they had problems in the last few weeks actually getting some of their members to sign on. Some of them don't think that it cuts enough, right? Which is, I think, is crazy. But some of them are actually worried on programs like Medicaid and SNAP and food assistance and other things that they know that they have a lot of people in their districts that actually benefit from those programs. And so they're fearful. They're scared. So when the budget comes out and they can no longer plausibly deny that there's a specific cut to a specific program, that's where your voice becomes incredibly important. They only won this last vote without the specific numbers on the bill by 2 votes in the House of Representatives. They won it in the House by 2 votes. Remember, in the Senate, with this thing called reconciliation, they don't need 60 votes. They only need 50 votes. That's why they're doing it this way. So we have to get those 2 votes in the House of Representatives. We got to flip those few votes so that they don't pass the version that's got the numbers in it, their final budget. And I believe that with your voice and all your emails and your calls and the town halls and everything, that you can help achieve it. Because it is making a difference, y'all. And as you think about, people were asking, well, how? How can I do that? I'm calling my representative, I leave the messages, I talk to the interns, and I don't feel like they're listening to me. There are different ways, of course, keep calling, but I want you to do a few other things. Number one, don't just call them, because it's true, the staff member will answer the phone, and then from my office, because I can't answer every call that comes in, I will get a report about who called about what. For example, we got 100 calls, or they might tell me, you got 100 calls saying don't cut Medicaid, right? Or you got, 3 calls saying yes, go ahead and cut Medicaid. Right? So I'll get a report like that. So do a lot of other members of Congress. But also, y'all, where you can, go onto the social media pages of your representatives and others. Go on to Twitter. Go on to Facebook. Go on to Blue Sky if they're on there. Go on, if those of you that use any of the other social media platforms, go in there and actually comment. Make a comment. You don't have to necessarily be nasty or vulgar or whatever it may be, but let them know your opinion and where you stand. Because they're just as likely to see your comments on their social media pages as they are to get a report back about what you thought when you called and a staff member answered the phone. All right? So those comments make a difference. And then finally, I know this is incredibly frustrating for everybody in a very anxious time, but you have something very powerful at your disposal, and that is your story. Each of us, all of us, have a story to tell. And we have to let them know that when they talk about potentially cutting Social Security or cutting Medicaid or Medicare, and by the way, they've talked about all of those, okay? They've talked about all of that. When they lay people off and people lose their work from one day to the next, when they cut employees at the VA, it was already hard sometimes for people to get seen at the VA. We needed more employees at the VA, not less employees at the VA, right? Tell your stories. It's not just line items on a budget. It's not just black and white numbers on a page. It's people's lives. And really quick, I want to tell you, in my own life, 2 examples and 2 stories of what I mean by that. And I hope that you'll think of your own. So, we're in 2025. 3 years ago, in the summer of 2022, I was in Spain. I was chairing a conference, the U.S. Spain Council. And I was in a car, and I was a passenger in a car, and we were driving back on this pretty dark highway. And the driver was going, maybe 65 or 70 miles an hour. And as we were driving along this highway, and going along, everything was fine, we were having a conversation, we hit this wild boar, going 70 miles an hour. Now, y'all know country roads, and you know what that means. This thing literally appeared for me, I mean, it is probably the one time in my life where something appeared like an apparition, because it was only the headlights that were lighting, dark highways, basically all you have is your headlights. And this thing appeared in front of me, and it was like, in your head, where you think, wait a second, if that thing's in front of you, you're gonna hit it in a second. And then boom! And crashed in the front part of the car and broke the windshield, and the airbags came out, and I was trying to figure out if I was hurt and everything. And they sent an ambulance, and the ambulance came, and I thought I was lucky. I figured out, I kind of surveyed myself, and I felt okay, and I was kind of worried about my hand because it had started to swell up and get red, and I thought, man, like maybe I broke a small bone or something in my hand, and the ambulance said, okay, well, do you want to go to the hospital or not, right? I was going to have to make a decision. And I thought, well, in case something was wrong with my hand, well, maybe I should go to the hospital and get it checked out. They'll do an x-ray or something. And I had a flight back to Texas the next morning at about 7 a.m. And this is at about close to midnight. And so I said, okay, yeah, I'll go to the hospital. And so I thought, well, they'll check out my hand for 15 minutes, and then I'll be on my way, and I'll catch my flight early. And so I got to the hospital, and as soon as I get to the hospital, they treat me like a full-blown trauma patient. They put that thing on there where you can't move your head, I don't even know what it's called, but you can't move your head like a neck brace, so I've never been in one. I've never been hospitalized before. And so they do that, and then they give me something. I had never had an IV with contrast. Those of you who have an IV with contrast, right? They put the contrast in so they can see what's going on with your organs and so forth. And the doctor was going to release me. She checked me out. They did the CAT scan or the MRI, and she was going to release me. And then she comes back and she opens the curtain. There's no rooms. You just got like people with curtains in each thing. She opens the curtain and then she closes the curtain, and she comes over to me and I understand Spanish better than I speak it. And I never wished in my life more at that moment that I spoke Spanish perfectly and understood it perfectly than right then. Because she was speaking Spanish and English. But she came over to me and she said, my radiologist just called me, and he believes that he sees 2 neuroendocrine tumors that have moved from your small intestine into your liver. And she was telling me that I had cancer. And, for those of you perhaps that have cancer or have family members, it's a shock when you first hear it. And so she said, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but when you get back home, make sure to get it checked out. So I ended up having surgery at MD Anderson in February of 2023, and I was there for 10 days, and I was recovering. And, one of the things they had to do when you have surgery, they took out a bunch of stuff from me, like, it's just a bunch of different things, cancerous parts, and lymph nodes, and part of my intestine, and different things. And I still have some tumors on my liver. And, but I was at the hospital, and one of the things you do when you have surgery, they make you walk around, right? That's part of the recovery. You walk around. And so I have that machine with the blood pressure thing that's reading all your information, your vitals, and I'm walking around. I got this incision, and I'm like walking around, and they told us to relax, right? Don't be stressful. I actually didn't watch any MSNBC or anything for like 2 weeks. Don't be stressed out. And I'm walking around, and I pass these 2 rooms because we're walking all in a circle, and we had similar surgeries, even if it was for different things in that area. And I passed 2 rooms that have Fox News blaring. They're watching Fox News. But I thought about that later on for 2 reasons. Number one, when I started looking through my bills, I had to become an expert on insurance very quickly in a way that I had never had to before. And when I got diagnosed, my youngest daughter had just turned 2 months old. So you think about your family and what it means for them. And one of the bills, line items that I saw, was a line item for a drug that I have to take every month, an injection at the Health Science Center in San Antonio, of a drug called lanreotide. And I looked at this line item, And the cost of that drug per injection was over $20,000 per shot. So this is where Donald Trump and Elon Musk and the politics we face today come in. There are times in my life where I didn't have health care insurance. And if it had happened to me at those points in my life, this would be a very different story.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the case for a lot of people in Texas right now who either don't have insurance or are underinsured. And if you strip Medicaid away from so many folks, they're not getting that shot every month. And that's just one type of cancer, and cancer is one type of illness. That's what it means for us. Those are our stories. That's what's at stake for so many people's lives. That's why your voice matters, and that's why you can make a difference. Thank y'all so much for caring. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for being here. Keep up the energy. We can change these things. We can win this election, and we can make sure that this country remains the country that gave us everything that we have today. Thank you all so much.
So I guess the thing to say is that the next time that we do an event like this, we'll try to get some good folks. That was spectacular, both of you. But we got one more to go. We've got Representative Gene Wu. Representative Wu represents District 137 in the Texas House of Representatives. He's from Houston. He is in his 7th term in the Texas House. So he went into the Texas House when Joaquin Castro went into the U.S. Congress. Kind of replaced him there, I would say. Representative Wu is from Houston. He serves as Vice Chair of the House Committee on Criminal Jurisprudence and on the House Committee on Redistricting and on the Appropriations Committee in this session. Other than that, he doesn't really do much. Oh, I forgot. He is also the Texas House Democratic Caucus Chair.
Thank you so much. My name is Gene, and I'm a rep out of Houston. I feel kind of a little bit out of place here, so let me just give you a little background, okay? Unlike probably a lot of people here, I'm an immigrant. I was born in China. I came to this country when I was about 4 years old, and I am damn proud to be American. And in my entire life, I have sworn repeatedly to defend our nation and defend our Constitution. Once when I became a citizen, the next time when I passed the bar and became a licensed attorney, and then when I got a job in the DA's office, and then every single time, every single session when we are sworn in as state reps, I pledge my loyalty to this country and my undying oath to defend the people and the Constitution. And let me just say again that I am damn proud to be an American. And when I grew up, when I was growing up, I looked out in the world and I looked at everything that they were teaching us and I said, man, I am so happy to be in this country. I'm so happy to be an American. I'm so happy to be in this society and to live in this dream because we were the best. Americans were seen around the world as arrogant and kind of assholes because we were the best. We were the best at everything. We had the best quality of life. We had the best standard of care. We had the best education. We had the best health care. We had the best military. We had the best roads. We had the best electrical system. What are we the best of now? The most medical debt? The most home foreclosures? The most inequality? The most mass shootings? The most gun violence? The most domestic violence? What is it? What are we still the best at? And so, in a sense, when people out there, the people who are MAGA, and they say, we want America to be great again, I kind of actually understand what they're saying. Because what they're remembering is a time when we were the best, when they had the best, when no matter who you were, no matter how much money you made, where you lived, you had the best of what was able to be offered. And the problem is that the people have told those people, hey, we're not the best anymore because of immigrants. We're not the best anymore because of black people. We're not the best anymore because of trans kids, women. We're not the best anymore because we're respectful to each other. We tolerate each other. We give each other space, and that's not being the best. They don't see that their school systems over the past 3 decades have been slowly defunded, that our children, that their children are getting less and less and less. They don't see that we've let our roads sort of fall into disrepair, that our bridges that we built 70 and 80 years ago and were only supposed to last 50 years have not been replaced. Buildings that should have been torn down decades ago are being refurbished because we don't invest anymore. Because the things that made us the best were things that cost money and things that took away from tax breaks for the extremely wealthy. And that has, if you look at when America was the strongest, like about 1980s, like up to about the 90s, when we were the strongest, when we were the best at everything. And how did that happen? It happened because we put incredible amounts of investments into our schools, into our universities, into programs, into making sure people got great jobs, into building up infrastructure around the nation. And when there wasn't enough private sector, the government came in and says, we're gonna stake a flag in this area, we're gonna help investments, we're gonna push people into this. We're gonna make sure we have engineers and scientists and doctors and all those other things that we need. Because back in the 1950s, 60s, even 70s, we dumped plenty of money into education. You could go to school, you could go to college basically for free. I know tons of people, probably in this room, you went to school on the GI Bill, or you went to school just doing a couple of simple hourly work, and that was enough to pay for school. That happened because our society told our government, hey, it benefits all of us when more of our kids get educated. So you make sure that you keep it cheap. And so we shared that cost. We shared that burden because it made us better. And we said to people, if you got hurt and you really can't afford help, we're going to help you anyways. Because it is beneficial for society for you to get back on your feet. It is beneficial for everyone for you to go back to work, to take care of your family again, and we're going to make sure you get taken care of, right? And we did tax the rich. That's how we paid for it. But over the years, time and time again, the rich have said, you know, you could be more American by making us pay less. And we said, okay, sure. And as they got richer, they wanted more. They wanted more and more. And at some point, there was nothing more in the system to give. And so they spent their money buying politicians. They spent money putting in public campaigns to tell all of us, hey, You want that tax cut. It's going to help you one day. Because you'll be a billionaire one day too. It's not for me. It's for you. Come on. And we bought it. We bought it. Let's be honest about that. Our society bought that lie. Right? We call it trickle-down economics. Right? In the old days, they called it horse and sparrow. Do you know what that meant? It meant that if you fed the horse more, if you fed the horse enough grain, eventually that horse is going to do what? It's going to shit it out and you can eat it. They literally brought an idea that we will take the shit that is left over from the billionaires and be happy with it. But they said that, no, that's a terrible metaphor. Let's just do trickle-down economics. The only thing trickling down on us now is shit. Here is the problem. When did we become a society of people that accepts this? I remember a time when Americans were slightly unhappy about things and we went nuts, right? Just a little thing not right, we were up in arms, we called people, we wrote people, we demanded answers, and we got those things fixed. But now, this is like a frog in a pot. You guys know the metaphor? Somehow, because the heat has been turned up slowly in the last 30 years, we have sort of gotten to say, hey, this is just the way things are. Look around your life. If you call yourself an American, and you are damn proud to be American, look around your life and say, is this the way things are supposed to be for Americans? Is this the way things are supposed to be for people who expect the best? Do we have the best education system? Do we have the best healthcare system? Do we have the best roads? Do we have the best electrical grid? What do we have? We have shit. Because we keep feeding everything that we put in to the billionaires. We keep feeding things to people who already have so much they cannot even consume it all. Elon Musk right now is worth $500 billion. You guys remember that movie, Boosters Millions? Okay, this is, I don't know if this topic is too old or too young. Like Boosters Millions, a movie back in the 80s, is like, hey, you can have all my inheritance, but you got to spend like $21 million in the next 4 days. Right? Even at that rate of burn, Elon could not spend all of his wealth. Right? And so the people who have so much are demanding more and more and more. And this is what's happening now. Why did Bezos and Ellison and all those people who were anti-Trump fold so fast? Why did they fold so fast? You know the answer. Because they were made promises. You'll be richer than you ever imagined. Here is the point of all this. We're here a lot of people here are Democrats. But we can't win with just Democrats. We need all people. We need people who are Democrats, people who are Republicans, people who are independents, people who don't really even want to pick. But people who believe in America. Who believe in the America that we were taught, right? The America that you learned about in school. The America that we tell other people around the world about. An America that acts like the beacon on the hill. That we act like the light that drives away the darkness. Not just from these lands, but from all lands on this planet. That we are the example to other people of how to be, how to coexist, how to live with each other, how to be free, how to have liberty, how to have democracy, how to have justice. We showed the world. And now we live in a society where the world pities us. Because we have none of those things anymore. Because now justice is about how much money you have and whether you can buy off the jury and the judge. Right? Democracy is about who can spend the most money on a campaign. Freedom? Freedom is only good if you're the majority, if you make the rules. Because everyone else, if you're a woman, if you're a minority, if you're gay, or whatever else, your freedom doesn't look too good right now. So what I am here to do is a plea. Not just to the Democrats, but to everyone. Everyone who looks upon this world and says, this is not who we are. We can be better than this. We should be better than this because, damn it, we're Americans. Right? So, I don't have a magic bullet for this. And one of my big fears is that we won't even make it to 2026. That we won't make it to next November. That I think we'll do great in the next election, assuming that we have one. Because the people who are looking to tear this country down and to tear it apart, I think that's part of their plan. I think their part of the plan is to burn our country to the ground, and when people are in the streets, they're going to call for martial law. But that is where we come in. If we are people who love this country and love our communities, then we should be out there. We should be the ones out there protesting, locking arm in arm. When they see people who normally don't make a lot of noise, suddenly make a lot of noise, I think things will change. And I think what needs to happen is this. I don't think we can wait until November 26th. I think what we need to be doing is pushing for Donald Trump's impeachment. Because at some point, because right now, at the pace we're going, we won't even make it to the end of the year. If we do not remove him and get rid of his insanity and his instability and everything that he's doing to crash our country into the ground, we will not survive. And we need to work on the Republican elected officials. We don't have time to wait to unelect them. We need them to remember that they swore an oath, just as I did, just as Vicky did, just as Mr. Castro did. They swore an oath to defend this country, to defend the Constitution, and most importantly, to defend the people. Right? If they don't remember that, we need to yell and scream and be in front of them until they remember.
To arms! To arms!
You know what? We're not far off. We can no longer be silent. If we love this country, then we have to act like it is valuable to us. When you love something, when you value something, then you are willing to make sacrifices for it. Okay? Remember that.
So with that, I have 3 housekeeping things to go over, and then we'll get to our questions for our guests. The first thing is that after 12 holes, McElroy still holds a 4-stroke lead. More important down outside, so if anybody's missing their knitwear, we've got it up here. Not sure that it's from this meeting. Okay.
You found an owner.
We found it.
He's got a microphone.
Sorry. Still sorry. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Now it's your turn. What we want you to do is to raise your hand if you have a question for our panel. We'll recognize you. Kathy will come with the microphone so that you can be heard as well. If we keep missing you, start doing this, okay? And then we'll find you eventually. Again, please be brief and to the point. Beware the bone. You can ask for a specific panelist to answer or leave the answer open for any of the panelists. We'll do our best to get to as many of your questions as possible. Here we go.
Okay, just so happens I have somebody really close to me with a question.
We need the microphone.
Good afternoon, my name is Dan Weber. I'm a combat Marine veteran. And deputy in the Lake County Sheriff's Office for 4 years. All three of you have done so much for this country. You are doing it in this room today. But I am asking you, I am begging you, and every other representative and congressperson, to coordinate with the King Center, the M.K. Gandhi Center for Nonviolence, the ACLU, the SCLC, the Nonviolence Institute, and other experience-based and evidence-based institutions. Provide 2-day trainings. Teach people that they don't have to wait any longer for somebody to come lead them. Teach them the rights and the risks, both physical and legal. If, when protests inevitably turn to marches, when they are met with force, batons, tear gas, and tasers, arrests, deportations, and hospitalizations, if people don't understand that no moral high ground will help stop a beating from happening, nor keep bones from breaking or wrists unchained, if they don't have the discipline to be spit on, punched, kicked, and treated worse than animals, they will strike back, and so many will be hurt, jailed, deported, and some likely killed, and we will lose everything. We stand on a foundation of knowledge and tactics forged in the fire of Gandhi's Satyagraha, of King's Agape, Huertas Si Se Puede, and in John Lewis's Good Trouble. I'm asking, will you host or facilitate trainings in stadiums and concert halls, universities and places of worship? Will you employ the lessons learned by so many who have sacrificed so much? Will you put on the daunting mantle of leaders, find King's path up the mountaintops, and help Americans finish the long and perilous path to the other side which he saw but never reached? Will you lead?
I think collectively from all three of us, hell yes. And I'll say this, as much as we, I think the three of us, we want to be a part of as much of this as possible, I don't think you should wait for us, right? You shouldn't be waiting for anybody. If you are in a room and you say to yourself, who's going to do this? Congratulations, you've just volunteered, right? No, I'm serious about that, and this is not a time for us to say, well, somebody else will do it, somebody will ride to a rescue. My friends, this is not a movie. There is no white knight, there is no grand hero coming. If you're waiting for a hero, it is you.
I have three housekeeping things. I only gave you 2 of them. We have another special guest here, and I want to give her a moment just to say hello, if she would. We've had some great candidates who have gone against Mr. Roy, and we've got to keep trying and keep going for it. One of the people that has run against him is our 2024 candidate, Kristen Hook, Dr. Kristen Hook. Is still in it to win it, and so I'd like to give her a moment to say hello.
Thank you, Terry. It's so nice to be back in Fredericksburg. Thank you so much. And to the organizers as well. I'm sorry that I am not here as a panelist and representing you, but just because I lost the race against Chip doesn't mean that I'm done fighting for you. Yeah.
No, I just want to reiterate what Rep. Blue said, which is how important it is that we are all showing up. And I know I don't have to tell this crowd that we're all showing up here because we care about our country and we love our community and we want to protect and save each other. I know that a lot of people continue to reach out to me and ask, what can I do? What are specific steps that I can do? And I'm sure this was already said earlier, but I just want to reiterate, hold your reps accountable. I know here in our district, we may not feel represented when we have an elected representative who chooses to hide behind closed doors instead of actually coming, being there available to answer our questions and listen to us and what matters to us. But you can still hold our reps accountable by making those calls, sending emails, and right now, the Texas legislature is in session. We only get one out of every 2 years an opportunity to go and give testimony in Austin. Look up the committee hearings that are being heard. They're announced Thursdays and Fridays, typically, and then go and testify. Go up in Austin, get a gang together of friends, and show up and have your voice heard to hold folks accountable for what they're going to do, especially in light of what's going on in our federal government with DOJ. I think it's important that we talk to our state reps and ask, what are you going to do to protect our community with all of these mass federal firings and getting rid of people who keep our country running? What are you going to do here in our state to help us? I think it's so important that we continue to make our voices heard. I know there are a lot of folks here who are already very involved. If you're not, please make sure that you're touching base with the local party, local organizers. There's some amazing grassroots organizing happening all across the district. I see at least 5 of our counties represented here, which is incredible. But please make sure you're getting involved and bring folks into the fray that may not normally get involved. Earlier we heard a mention about how important it is that we have a big tent. We're bringing folks in. I know, how many of you in here have Republican and independent family and friends? Yeah. How many of you are talking to them about politics right now? Okay, I see a little change in the shift of hands that went up there. But I think it's important that we are still keeping that bridge open. There are a lot of folks who are being duped with lies and misinformation, and you are the voice of reason. You are that person that they trust, that you can talk to about these things. It's our country. We do not need to lay back and let them take it over. It's up to all of us to help and save and lead. Thank you so much.
I have a request to make the 3 of you to explain something to your Republican colleagues. So they say, I'm pro-life. No. If you're a Republican, you're pro-murder. Federal government has capital punishment in effect. Donald Trump killed 13 people when he was a lame duck. Now he's what the heck he is, UCK, is he's already authorized additional execution. Here in Texas, we are the champs. Texas is #1 in executions in 1982. Harris County alone executes more people than any other state except Texas. So I am now planning to sue Greg Abbott, that's his name, because on April 23rd, if things go as planned, Moises Mendoza will be put to death. His mother could not terminate her pregnancy after 6 weeks, but we can terminate his life after 163 trimesters. The following month, Matthew Johnson will be in his 201st trimester. We're aborting him. I'm serious. I want to sue Greg Abbott for aiding and abetting way past the 6th week. Excuse me. I'm a lawyer. I'll pay the lawyer's fee. I know it's not going to go anywhere. I want to make some noise, okay? And what's going to happen? In 1935, a relative of mine did not live to see her firstborn grandchild because abortion was illegal and unsafe. We're repeating that right now.
Can we? She's been have her head for a while.
Hello.
I'm Rebecca Cohn. I'm a former Assistant Majority Leader of the House in California and former Chair of Health. I grew up in Fredericksburg and I live in Fredericksburg now. I could ask 25 different questions on things that I deeply care about. Most recently, 3 days ago, a bill passed in the House that affects every woman in this room more than likely. And we have been under assault for a very long time. I didn't think I'd ever have to ask this question, but the SAFE Act, which would require every woman in this room to provide additional documents to vote. They are trying to suppress our vote. What are the Democrats in Congress doing? And I know you're going to have a great issue.
Well, first of all, the SAVE Act is an attempt at voter suppression across the United States. And we saw a lot of rounds of the same thing in Texas many years. It wasn't, when we think about voter ID, it wasn't just voter ID in Texas. There were a slew of other not as high profile measures that they took. And let me give you an example before I close out on the SAVE Act. In Texas, for example, if you wanted to register people to vote, it used to be that if you were deputized, you could go to any of the 254 counties and register somebody to vote. And then several years ago, around the time that voter ID was passed, they passed a law that said now you have to go get deputized in each county that you want to register voters in. Now you think, okay, well, each county, no, I mean, they're trying to throw obstacles in people's way, right? So it may not be a huge mountain of an obstacle, but it's a hill. And some people won't get over that hill, and so they don't end up voting. So this is another way that they are trying to do the same thing. And married women, you're right, in particular, their ability to vote is at stake here. And this is an example of where the Senate absolutely matters, right? Because they need the 60 votes. We have to make sure, there were, I think, 4 Democrats in the House of Representatives that voted for the SAVE Act. We got to make sure there's not 7 senators that do the same thing. So your voice, your messages on social media, everything, right now is when it matters, because this will come up in the U.S. Senate, and we have to beat it down.
Before I get started, I'd like to add something else to that, just because I have a microphone. So I just got to thinking about that, and I'm glad that our vice president already has his passport, because he would be affected by the SAFE Act, because his name is not his birth name.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
He's not about his third name, I think, 3rd or 4th. So that's something to think about as well, is that thank goodness he already has his little passport, because he'd have a little problem.
Hi, I am Carol Smith, and I don't know which hat to put on. The proud teacher, the retired teacher, the environmentalist, I don't know which topic, pollution, anything to go. But right now I'm putting my mama hat on. Because my son is a proud federal employee who lives thousands and thousands of miles from D.C. and he performs an excellent service, and who's lost a lot of people. I can't say which agency, because I don't want him to lose his job. He's lost several people in his office, his own boss. He now he's over 4 counties not getting paid, which happened in the last Trump administration. But what I think, you never know. I mean, an excellent employee like that, they're all walking on pins and needles all over the United States. The people that have been doing their job and giving services. And it's like, they don't know what to do, no matter where it is. And also, I think right now, we're not the terrorist is the news du jour, because that's on TV. So they quit talking about all the firings right now, but they are still going on constantly. And a lot of the general public does not understand that you're not just considered probationary, which is bad enough to fire those people, but you're considered probationary when you just take a new job. And
Promotion.
you're about to get another job.
Or a promotion, when you get a promotion. Yeah.
And he is very job, and he didn't take that job because we had lost, and lots of other people. And then there's people in the veterans, they're all over the government, whose whole families, you know, are veterans, and they work and they have moved up the ladder, and they just changed jobs in their department, and they're getting fired. So how can we keep that in the public eye to educate people more of that? Exactly, it's not fraud and abuse, it's just slash and burn. That's what they're doing.
Sure.
Here.
We'll give you a chance. Remember this, folks, nobody will get it done before you answer the question. If there are any questions from back in the overflow? No? Okay. Thanks.
All right. Since it's a federal question, I'll answer it again. You're right. The layoffs at the federal level of the federal government have been massive, and they're continuing. And they're also deeply unfair to these folks. I had a chance to meet with the AFGE union in San Antonio, and they told me a few stories about, for example, over at the VA, there was a doctor who had agreed to take a job in San Antonio to go work at the VA, and this is during the transition when it was getting close to President Biden leaving and President Trump coming in, and she moved her family over and everything, and then was told that her job was gone. I mean, literally somebody moving across to San Antonio, and now they have no job. And it's also affecting all of us in different ways. For example, I was in DC the other day when we were in session, and somebody said, oh, you know, they were paying student loans, and that they tried to get on the phone because they were having a problem with their student loans. And you know how there's an automated thing that comes on, like the wait time, you know, whatever. It said your wait is like 10 hours and 30 minutes. I mean, really. And so these were folks who were earnest, hardworking people, right? Who had the rug pulled out from under them. It's affecting all of us as Americans. And so you're right, we have to keep talking about it. We have to keep it in the spotlight. But let's be honest, they're trying to flood the zone on issues, right? They're trying to make it so that, you know, like that game of whack-a-mole where the heads keep popping up and you're trying to go after each one. They're trying to make it difficult, but we have to make sure that our effort matches and exceeds theirs, because that's the only way that we're going to prevail here.
Not any further.
I have to add to that. I heard that Nancy Thompson's here. She had us all read on tyranny. If you haven't, you need to. My name is Lisa, and I am from Kerrville, and I have a little two-part about women's disenfranchisement. We do know about the horrible raid that happened in San Antonio on the voter registrar. I know that my kid's stepsister registered to vote at Texas State University. I volunteered during the campaign. She never showed up in reach. Those voter registrations never made it in. And we know that we had some ballots destroyed. So I wondered if anybody has an idea of how accurate this election was, what the steps are going to be to make sure that doesn't happen again. And as a married, divorced, married woman, I am wondering if, I think I left one out. Now, I am wondering if I need to change back to my maiden name, or if the passport y'all think is going to do it, if the state act does make it. I haven't read the text, and I don't know what the best thing is.
Well, let me start a little further back. I believe that the Department of Justice, unfortunately, during the Biden administration, was too timid in enforcing some of the law. And, you know, so I'll start there. I think we were too timid, right? Because we didn't want it to look like the Justice Department was politicized and so forth. When, I mean, look at what they've done. It's completely politicized. They're going after political enemies. They're going after people they disagree with, who were citizens and others. And so on voting, No, you're right. I mean, I think you're right to be concerned. And you know, over the last few years, states have pulled out a compact, for example, on the monitoring of elections and the database and all that. So yes, there is absolutely a concern. Now, let me speak practically as well. Each of the counties in Texas, for example, has its own, runs its own system, right? So, you know, it's basically running its own, they're all running their own system and then reporting back. So the fact that it's a decentralized system, and I serve on the intelligence committee, so we did all the Russia investigation. You know, Russia, it's in open source, but Russia, in leading up to the 2016 election, tapped into, now there's not been a determination that they changed any of the voter registration rolls, but they tapped into the voter registration rolls in all 50 states. They literally tapped into all the rolls. In other words, they were able to access them. And so, yes, we have to be hyper-vigilant about our elections and demand accountability from our statewide office holders and also our county folks, that they are making sure that the systems are protected and everything. Before the Trump administration, after the 2016 election, the federal government had made a very dedicated effort and spent a lot of money starting to go work with each of the states to try to make sure that the elections were secure. And then one of the things that Donald Trump has done is now gotten rid of a lot of that, right? So yes, we absolutely should be concerned, and that's why we have to be vigilant on the state and on the county and the local level.
I'm Scarlett and I'm 10 years old, and I want to know why Trump is targeting us children. Why is he letting us be abused?
Why is he letting us be abused? Why is Trump letting us be abused? I'm not sure.
Okay, she asked why President Trump is letting children be abused.
Because he doesn't care. I mean, I'm sorry to say, but I think there's a lot of people that are in public service that are in there for the wrong reasons, right? And I've seen this throughout my time in the legislature. I'm sure you've seen it in Congress. It's not a new thing. There's plenty of people who are there for power, for the prestige, because they can make a couple of bucks off of it, because they've already made their millions and they just need something, one more thing to show off, right? There are still people there who are there for the right reasons, who are there because they love their communities, who are there because they're willing to make the sacrifices that's necessary to serve the community, right? And the problem is that as a society, we've like abdicated our ability, our position to judge our leaders, because we simply just vote for the person who has the most money and runs the fanciest campaign and has the best advertisement and can send the most mailers, right? And so that almost always becomes the person who is the most beholden to rich people, to corporations, to whatever else, people who have money to throw around. And they don't care what happens to the community, because that's not how they get elected, right? They believe that they were elected to carry out the will of the people who helped them get elected, right? The people who funded them. Right now, last session we had 24 Republicans vote against vouchers because they knew that vouchers was terrible for their communities, would destroy the already precarious school system that exists in Texas, and that it would basically be bad for everybody, while benefiting very few. And Governor Abbott took a, $13 million check and spent at least half of it campaigning against those 24. Right? And so 15 of those 24 got defeated, basically by the sheer force of money alone. They lie, they use that money to lie and lie and lie, and it was very effective. It was very effective because we allowed them to be very effective, because we chose to not think critically about what our people do, what we fight about, what the policies that they fight for. Because all of us, and I don't mean all of us as a whole society, have basically said, you know what, whatever is the shiniest thing, I'll vote for that. And I would like to go back to a world where we don't vote for people, even in this room full of Democrats, that we don't vote for people based on a D or an R or whatever is behind their name, but we actually look at what people say that they're going to do, what they have done, right? We look at their personal morality and their ethics. That if we have people who say, hey, this person has been shown to lie multiple times, maybe we shouldn't elect them, right? People who in their private lives have been shown to have defrauded their employees, to have ripped people off, to have not paid their debts. Maybe we shouldn't elect them to lead us. And I want all of us to go back to a time when Americans picked up the newspaper, actually read it, and understood what was going on, and understood what their elected officials did. Because if the people all around here knew that Chip Roy, when they were suffering, offered no assistance, no help, not even empathy, you think that they would vote for him again? No. But people have said, like, well, we don't care about that. We just care about that letter behind his name. And I think all of us, we need to go back to our communities and say, voting just a letter behind their name